digitaljamsessions.com.
Hello and welcome to this Digital Jam special. Today we're coming at you live from London's MCM Comic Con, and we're joined by the illustrious John Noble once again, and we also have back with us Louis from Visor VR.
Hello again.
Welcome guys.
Hello. Hi.
So for the benefit of our listeners who may not know who you are or what you do, which they really ought to by now, but would you care to explain to us exactly who you are and what you do? And I'll start with you, John.
Well, I'm an actor. That's what I do. I guess the reason I'm here is because I've done a series of shows that seem to appeal to the fans, ranging from Lord of the Rings and Fringe and Sleepy Hollow and Elementary at present. There's a range of them, video games, all that sort of thing.
Bit of everything. And Louis, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you're up to?
I build virtual reality headsets and cameras in an attempt to change the world and galvanise creativity through virtual reality medium.
You haven't said that. You haven't said that too many times, have you?
No.
That was awesome.
I totally made that up.
It was good. It was smooth.
Oh, okay.
But thank you for joining us both today. And what I wanted to do was kind of continue the conversation we started quite some time ago now about what we thought the future was going to be for actors and performance arts, thanks to all this new technology that's kind of emerging. And now that we have you in the mix as well, Louis, it's kind of the perfect conversation to have once again, because we've kind of progressed now with the technology, and we're getting to that stage where actually there is a little bit clearer idea of what this new performance art might look like and what it's going to take for the medium really to move forwards. So I'm curious to understand, John, in the time that there's been since the last time we spoke, whether or not you have seen any opportunities that have come up or anybody's talked to you about this idea of maybe doing a 360 film or a VR film or any of these other kind of...
No. I'm aware of the progress, but I haven't. I've been working on Elementary, and so I've sort of been closeted pretty well, and I haven't had any. I mean, it's always exciting stuff to be involved with, particularly at the cutting edge of it, but I haven't had the chance. I hope to now. I've just finished on Elementary, so we'll see what comes up.
Okay. And from your perspective, Louis, obviously there's quite a lot of new 360 experiences popping up all over the place and people doing a lot of content.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at what actors are being asked to do, do you think that there is quite a transitionary process here that needs to occur?
I think, so a little background on myself. So I grew up in Stratford-upon-Avon by the Royal Shakespeare Company, so actually having kind of some kind of stage performance history in my family. And one of the interesting things for me, particularly about VR video, is that we've had this kind of performance medium where people can look in any direction before. It's when you used to go to the theatre. And the thing that I find really interesting about it is it differentiates actors who can hide behind a camera and who can use kind of cinematic techniques to hide bad acting from actors who are just really good actors. And I think that, you know, not that I can speak from any experience as an actor myself, but I think that will be one of the more kind of trying things that will be asked of actors is to kind of, it's a far more telling medium because you've got to actually be captivating, because if you're not captivating, someone's not going to watch you. They're going to be watching the background or something else that's going on in the scene.
That's really interesting. So you really have picked up on the stage element there, what a stage actor is required to do, which is to be present at all times and, as you said, nowhere to hide. Sounds fascinating.
So when we talk about this kind of new performance art and you're talking about this idea that actually, you know, it is really leaving nowhere to hide. Everything is kind of up there and in front of your audience. But there is also this kind of extra added complexity when we're talking about kind of immersive and interactive entertainment. And one of the things that we've heard a lot about recently is with immersive theatre, for example, where actually the actors are required to be able to not just respond to the audience, but to remember maybe 2 or possibly 3 different outcomes to each section of the play or the performance. And I'm curious from your perspective, you know, the complexity of remembering a script as it is quite, you know, is quite an art into itself. But to then be able to have multiple storylines kind of going through your head at any given time and being able to react to those.
Look, it's not new. It's been done with you know, where plays have alternate endings in the past. It's just a learning process, really. I think if the character's consistent, then you can take any line with it. You know, provided you've got a fully rounded character, you can take it wherever you want to, and it's just a matter of learning it. And I suspect that there'll be a bit of improvisation required in that sort of work initially, but I don't see it as being anything more than an exciting challenge, really. Some of the purists will say, "Oh no, you can't do that. You know, you have to be in the moment." But I think that that's probably a bit negative and wrong, actually.
And do you think that there's going to be an emergence here of things like motion capturing, kind of this hybrid performance art of kind of electronically creating the characters as well, that's going to emerge as well?
I think there's a lot to be said for digital characters that are truly engaging when you're with them in VR. Because again, the same as film to stage, when you're playing a video game, you can hide behind that rectangular 15 to 32 inch box that you view this world through. If you're standing in it, then one of the things that VR does that really excites me is it strips away all the excuses. So you've either got to produce great content or you have crap content, and there's nothing in between. And I think, especially when it comes to character portrayal, and we're lucky because we've had video games for the last 20 years, right? So we've been working on digital character portrayal in interactive media for a while. But I think it's really going to be pushed to a head now. And, in your podcast, we talked about, talking with the people from Bossa about how kind of the fidelity was taking this leap because it had no excuse not to. I think we're going to see that with characterization and see that with interactive storytelling inside games particularly.
So do you think we're going to get to a point where actually, with a combination of things like digital generation of creating these avatar type characters, these digital characters, and also with artificial intelligence creating personalities for characters, do you think there's going to get to a point where actually we don't want the actor anymore? We're just going to say to the actor, you know what, we need your image and we need a little bit of personality from you, but now the rest we're going to go build that ourselves. Do you think that's...
Look, that's been discussed for a while, and some of the prophets of doom have said as much. I don't know. I mean, I think there's something about a human being and the way that a human being... that we relate to a human being. I mean, there's been some wonderful stuff done with digital characters. And I've done some stuff where it's been digitalised afterwards, and it's very effective, but it's not the same as... You don't get the same subtlety yet as you get from a real person. You just don't get it. It's very good, but the art of acting is very much a very subtle process, and that's what we're not seeing yet, I don't think. And who knows? And who knows if a digitalised voice will ever be as profoundly interesting as a human voice. Maybe in time to come. Artificial intelligence is still a long way off, I think, to get that sort of sophistication. I could be wrong, but that's my reading of it.
Okay. And what's your sentiment on this?
I think that where I come from, I mean, the depiction of a realistic human character with all its nuances will happen eventually, because that's technology. That's what will happen. I think the interesting thing is, even if you look at the way video games are made today, they still use performance capture techniques. There's still somebody performing whatever happens, because at the end of the day, I think until we end up with true artificial intelligence, which will have implications far beyond the acting world, I don't think we're ever going to be able to simulate all of those kind of nuances. And it's about character portrayal, and great actors portray great characters, and I don't think that's something that you can simulate particularly. You might be able to capture that and replay it in certain different ways and display it in a way that it wasn't when it was performed. But I think you're still going to have some kind of performance. It's the same as comparing people who do hand animation on video game characters with people who use motion capture. The motion capture is always better because it's always got all the human nuances in, and I think that it's going to be the same for no matter what you're trying to capture.
And I don't think it needs to be exclusive either, because this is wonderful technology, but there's also something wonderful about being close up and personal in a space with a live person. And that, as human beings, we love that, so much. I always love particularly working in small stages as a stage actor. Really small stages were my preference, because you're there, you can basically hear in the face, you can smell each other, and that's a very special experience with the human being there as against the virtual reality. At this stage, anyway, I think there's room for both. As there's room for live music and there's room for digitalised music, and we can live with all of them.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, from your career and the different shows that you've been a part of, or the different films that you've been a part of, if you were able to kind of go back and revisit any of these properties and be able to explore them in this, virtual reality or digitized formats, would there be a particular one that you would choose over the other? And is there a particular reason that you would maybe want to revisit one of these places?
One of the bad ones, you mean?
Just generalistically, I'm curious.
No, I don't know. No, I don't think so. There's nothing that jumps out of me at this stage to do that, because they weren't written for that form. So no, I don't think so. But who knows?
Okay.
Maybe I thought hard.
From a fan perspective, what's your perspective, Louis? Would you want to see any of the properties that John's been part of come to life in VR?
I think that it's kind of the obvious low-hanging fruit there is everyone would like to experience Lord of the Rings firsthand. I think that's a very easy... I think actually done properly, that would be a very captivating universe to have a first-hand perspective of. I wouldn't say that I'd redo what had been done, but I think exploring that setting is definitely something that will probably happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll be the remake of it.
Yeah.
Because there's no other remake. I don't think they can make it. You know how people like to do a remake.
I think they've explored as much as they can.
It was just a brilliant trilogy, and it sort of peaked, and it hasn't been topped yet. So the next step is what you're talking about.
Yeah, expanding out into the universe.
Yeah.
In many, many ways. Okay. So I'm curious then, in terms of the kind of new and emerging technologies or techniques that you think are going to have a significant impact on, for you, the acting industry or kind of, the performance industry, what you think those things might be, if there's anything that you think is, a lot of people are talking about, what do you think it is that's going to necessarily be the thing you've got to start worrying about next?
Worrying about? Look, you can't fight. you can't fight progress. It's ridiculous to try and hold on to what was.
Yes.
Some of the stuff we do now will become museum pieces. You just accept it and run with it. Stay at the top of the wave. So as an actor, I don't get scared by things. I just think, where's the top of the wave? Where's it going? And go with it instead of holding back like a dinosaur. So where it takes us, I'm quite happy to go with it because you simply can't fight.
Yeah.
You have to go.
Yeah.
And so it'll be an exciting ride.
Louis, do you think there's any particular types of technology that will be very interesting for
the
acting and performance community?
The key thing is, you look at... I trained as an engineer. I did virtual reality engineering. It's going to be a very long-winded linked metaphor, this. and when I did my dissertation years ago on the simulation project here, we projected the virtual reality onto a huge dome display because that was the only way it could be done at the time. Now we've got HMDs and the technologies rush forward. Does that make all the engineers who train to use those kind of systems obsolete? No. And I think the same is probably true of acting. Has television killed the acting profession? No. And it will be this sort of, most professions in most industries adapt to the change of society and technology, and I think that acting is the same.
Okay.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see. We don't know. Look, in 150 years, acting's changed enormously. From when there were the touring artists who wandered around the place and sort of people you didn't trust with the silver and so forth. The stories. And then there were since then it's changed. Motion pictures changed enormously, and so now actors are really like gods around the place. Whereas before they were just sort of troubadours, and so that's been a huge change, and we're in for another one, I guess. And television's been it's been wonderful for actors, just wonderful. Nothing like it for making a living. And the quality's getting better and better.
It's actually kind of a profound point. It makes you wonder what is the current undiscovered way of life that somebody's living that's going to become the next big thing. And all of these, these drastic changes come down to medium communication. As a species, we communicate more, we share more media, we're constantly inventing new ways of doing that. And whenever we do that, it revolutionises somebody's profession somewhere.
It does.
And I wonder what will be next.
Well, I mean, we still... The more we delve, the more we don't understand the human condition to start with, and the more we're fascinated by and obsessed by the human condition. So, I mean, whatever leads us in that, we spend much more time navel-gazing now than any generation in history. And so that's not going to go away. And I don't know that we necessarily solve the navel-gazing propensity by digitalising things. I think people really want to get inside and find out what the hell makes us tick. Yeah. Why are we so fucked up? Why are we so messed up? Why are so many people unhappy in a world where there's everything we could possibly want? These are the things that'll keep us going, because ultimately it's been put together by human beings, and we care about human beings. Yeah. That's it.
Interesting.
Cool.
So I want to thank you both for taking the time out during this very busy Comic-Con and joining us. As always, we offer our followers and our listeners a way of being able to find out a little bit more about what you're up to. And we'd ask you to share with us your social media handle of choice. Louis?
Okay. My social media handle, if you wish to follow me, is on Twitter. It's Visor, VISR.
Thank you.
And I'm the John Noble.
The John Noble.
Who's the other John Noble?
Also on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you for listening to this Digital Jam session. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to subscribe and review, and follow us on Twitter at Digital Jam Ltd.
Thanks for joining us for Digital Jam Session 71. Next, for your listening pleasure, is some bonus content when Digital Jam joined John Noble's press conference at MCM Comic-Con May 2016. Don't forget to review and subscribe. Thanks for listening.
digitaljamsessions.com.
I was going to ask, Elementary, obviously, you've had a wonderful role. Is another wonderful role. I mean, how do you feel? Obviously, you've had a much major part in the last series. I mean, obviously, which is going to develop as the series. I mean, obviously, as I said, it's another fantastic role. How do you feel sort of fitting into that series?
It was because the character had been spoken about so much. He was set up. It's a glorious thing when a character is set up like that. And so there was this expectation of this monstrous father coming into the place as Sherlock's dad. And so, I mean, I researched. I had to research what sort of man is this? Where does he come from? What world does he live in? You know, and found out that he lived in this other world, which is a real world above government and above everything else, the people that run the world. So it was a fascinating role to play. But I only went in for a one-year contract. So at the end of that season, that was the contract that I had, although they did leave it deliciously open, and they said, would you be interested in coming back occasionally next year? Because it was it developed into a really fascinating character.
It was, yes.
So it was good. I enjoyed it very much. And it was good. We were filming back in New York, which is my favourite place to film. So that's what we did.
How does that sort of father-son relationship compare to the relationship in Fringe that you had to have for 5 seasons?
Mm-hmm. Well, very different.
Very
different. Yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, the Sherlock, Johnny Lee Miller's character, he's as you know, he's a very strange man, and he also hates his father, so and it's doubly strange. Incredibly intense actor, and trying to converse between characters is intensely difficult, as it should be. And they're both very smart men, and they're both very determined and intelligent, and so it's a real conflict. And as the father tries to make some inroads into the father-son relationship, you never know if he's just manipulating or what he's doing. So it's always a mystery. Then on the other hand, you know, working with Lucy Liu, who's an absolute delight. You may have had that from other actors in the past, but what a joy! I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful woman. And also got to work with Aidan Quinn, who's been I admired him forever, you know. So it was terrific fun to do that. But yeah, with Johnny Lee Miller, it was tough. It had to be. He's so intense and so smart.
I don't know if the question's been asked you before, because you do play such intense characters. Yeah. Is it something that you are able to shake off once cut and off the set, or is it something that you can? No,
I don't hold on to characters at all. Actually, I could drop out of it, fortunately, or in a flash, and go back into it. Some actors do hold on, and that must be awful. Imagine living with some of these people that we play.
Well, I mean, I think I've heard from Johnny Lee Miller that there's some much residual stuff that...
Well, it's a different sort of character, and he's a different sort of actor too.
Sure.
He's a very intense man, and so some actors do hold on to it. For example, on set, whereas I might drop it immediately, Johnny will hold on to that intensity, and that's not unusual. Just depends on what sort of an actor you are, really. So yes, he does a bit.
Fair enough.
And he's off now doing Train Spotting.
Yes.
I can't wait to see that. I mean, seriously, how exciting!
A fan of the first one?
Yes. I thought it was a big shift in everything that turned my life around. Seeing that thing, I thought, my gosh, that's amazing. And with the original cast and director and writers. Very good. Sorry, I shouldn't be promoting that. But why not?
I was going to ask you about, well, admittedly this is a slightly older film, but I just want to ask you a very quick question. It was released as The Smuggler over here, and it was called The Mule in Australia.
The Smuggler here?
I thought it was a wonderful film.
Yeah.
It's about a guy who gets picked up by the customs, and Noble is this... Sorry, you're this wonderfully evil...
Yeah, he's a great character, wasn't he?
It was a great film. I just want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah,
very
please
briefly.
do.
I just want to know what that was like to shoot.
Well, for me it was wonderful because most of my work has not been in my Australian accent. It's either been in English or what they call RP or various forms of American or Welsh or whatever. So to get back and play a real Aussie bloke was such fun.
He was a fantastic character.
He was a wonderful character, wasn't he? And such a goose. I mean, he was... So to play, how was it to play? Well, it was just fun from beginning to end because
as I said, I hadn't done this before, but I knew these guys when I was a kid, these rough kind of men, and the whole thing, and it's bizarre.
So you based it on people that you knew when you were growing up then?
Well,
loosely.
Yeah, of course you do. I mean, you hear these voices all the time in your head, and these old fellows. It's called The Smuggler here.
Yes, it is. They changed its name because it was called The Mule, wasn't it, originally? And
I did hear something about that.
So it's on DVD. It was a fantastic
It's a funny film, isn't it?
Yes, it's
very
great.
funny. And and I got to work with some good actors, you know.
Oh, we found Hugo Weaving.
I'd never worked with Hugo before, and it was good. Georgina Haig was there, who was my colleague from Fringe as well.
Of course, yes.
It's good fun. Yeah, thank you for telling me.
It's all right. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to say so.
So are those characters more fun to play than the sort of bad characters, or?
He wasn't a good character. He was a particularly bad character.
Yeah.
He was evil.
Yeah, they more.
Oh yeah, of course they are. Yeah, I don't know. I think when there's all sorts of elements in a character, it makes it much more interesting. I've often said to my representatives, please don't put me up for sort of two-dimensional straight characters, because I'm really bad at them, and I mean it. I get very self-conscious if I don't know what to do with them. But when there's depth and complexity in a character, I love it. So it's always what I've got cast as, really.
You prefer it when the script actually paints that 3 dimensions, and you're not one for discovering the character and evolving it?
I think it's got to be there.
From the gem of it.
There has to be there. The potential's there. I mean, all people are multifaceted.
Sure.
But we need to have you've got to see the room within the role as it's written to play those facets.
Sure.
And if it's not there, you know, I sometimes think getting stuck in a procedural must be tough, where you establish the character in the first 2 episodes and stay with it forever. I think that must be tough.
I mean, I think that's probably what appealed to you for Fringe.
God.
And you kind of knew that there was going to be this evolution, pretty much throughout the course of the...
When I first read it was only a scene of it, actually.
Yeah.
And I said to my wife, God, I love this role. I know this man. I know him. This is a bit odd. And so there was no doubt about that. Sorry, what was the question? And I got lost in the thought there. This happens to me sometimes. I was thinking about the audition for that show, because my daughter, who's an actress, was in LA, and she said, Dad, there's this film coming up with show with J.J. Abrams, and it's a fantastic role for you in it. And so I rang my manager, and he said, oh, no, you're too young for it. No, they don't want to see you. And then, so I went away, and we actually both went back to Australia for Christmas. And then I get this message saying, oh, well, they do want you to put down a tape. And so we did it, and my daughter read against me. She read Olivia's role, and I loved it. And I said to her, I went home more excited than ever. I said, I'll get that role. I'll get that role. I just loved the audition so much, which was very silly. But it had a happy ending, because that's what happened. So good old Sam, my daughter, put me onto it.
Is that in the personal video diary, or has that been on a DVD extra? Or...
No, I've never done it. I don't think so. So she played Olivia.
Cool.
Yes.
So building on the questions, would you say you have more fun playing more morally grey characters? So with Fringe and Elementary, and even Lord of the Rings, for example, he plays sort of the steward of Gondor, and you know, he's filled with grief, and of course he's not a bad man, but he's morally grey.
But it's much more interesting to play it. I think.
Yeah.
As human beings, when we're watching something, we've got to identify, don't we? You've got to identify with the characters, otherwise they're forgettable. I either like them or dislike them, or at least have a reaction to them, and recognise them as fully fleshed people. And so, to not do that, it feels very uncomfortable for me. And to play these, there's something I think possibly because of my voice, or something about me that I've always been not attracted to and offered those sorts of roles. And even in Sleepy Hollow, he's a very, very crazily complex guy. I mean, really crazily complex character, playing a sort of distraught, angry 17-year-old in a 66-year-old man's body. And I would always, I think from now on, finally, I wouldn't be offered the other stuff. I don't think so. So we'll see what comes up next.
Talking about Sleepy Hollow, what attracted you to play that role?
Well, as I said, we'd finished doing Fringe and went back to Australia for a while. And Alex Kurtzman, who's the executive producer, rang me and he said, "Would you do this Sleepy Hollow?" Which I knew was around the place. you know, and it just opened, and he told me what this character was, and I said, that sounds amazing, and so I went and joined the company to play the character that he described to me, which was exactly what we played in the first season of it, which was such a wonderful season of television, fascinating stuff. It sort of shifted a bit after that, but I only agreed to go in for 2 years, and that's all I did go in for. But it was just fascinating to be able to play that Sin Eater character. But I had to research all this. I had to go back and research, obviously, Sleepy Hollow and all the spook stuff, which I didn't understand, and I knew the history stuff.
I spoke to Tom Myson, and he said that he came into it completely fresh, and he didn't actually know anything, but he actually then started learning about the turn of the century, old American history.
Yeah, well, I knew that part of it.
Yeah.
You do that. The amazing thing about acting sometimes is that you learn so much, or directing. You learn so much. You have to, and so I've learned far more by acting roles than I learned at university studies. Seriously, or because of the research you need to do. When I was doing Walter Bishop, the research I had to do into so many facets, and other characters as well. It's a wonderful education.
Do you feel like your career, does it feel like it's sort of in two parts? Because obviously you had a long established career in theatre and, you know, in Australia, and then obviously there was, you know, you got to people's attention through obviously some of the American work. I mean, is it a career in two parts? Would you say that's a fair
At least 2 parts.
Well, hopefully more.
Golly, it feels like several chapters. Yeah, I mean, it's really bizarre chapters. I mean, the very fact I'm an actor is like another chapter. You know, where I came from, there's no way you thought you could be an actor. What an extraordinary thing to think of. And I went to law school, and that's what you did if you could. You know. So. And then other chapters. And when I first tried to break into film and television, it was dry. We moved to another, and it was hard.
Yes.
Because no one knew me. So that was when I started teaching. And I loved teaching, even though I was terrified of it at first. I thought, oh God, what do you do here? And so I remember and then confidence went away. I don't know anything about acting. I don't know anything about it. So I sat down and I just wrote, boom. And I finished up with this document. And I thought, oh my God, how did I know all that? But it gave me great confidence. And so I used that as the prep. And we've still got, my daughter still has that initial 10-page journal or whatever it was. So then I fell in love with it, and I still teach whenever I can. Yeah, I love it. I gave a masterclass in New York about three weeks ago at NYU, and I do it when I can.
You've obviously got some fantastic characters which are in properties which have very intense fandoms.
Yeah, sure.
But I saw your eyes light up when Joel brought up something from the past. Is there anything in your kind of the back catalogue of work of yours that you do kind of want to, every once in a while, just say, okay, let's... it's fun to focus on the Elementary and the Sleepy Hollow, but you know what? Have you seen this little gem that I did?
No, but I do have very fond memories of some stage performances. Which of course are lost forever.
Sure.
And in the last couple of years, I've actually made a return to stage for the first time with a couple of plays in New York, which was really fascinating. And so that was kind of, having been totally obsessed by it by years, and then leaving it and then coming back. And
you feel like coming home?
It was really wonderful. And they're both great roles. So.
What roles were they?
Well, I first of all...
Was it classical theatre or...
Well, no. Well, I played Henrik Ibsen in the last one, and the one before was a very good play called Substance of Fire, where I played an old Jewish man. Great roles. So it was fun. And, well received too, which was always nice when they are.
Would you say theatre has changed since your time, or is it still the same old?
Same as far as I can say, there was no change. No, well, I don't know. Not from what I've seen. I think it's changed. What's going to change? You know? I don't know. So I would say no to that. But I mean, I'm not an expert anymore. I go to theatre when I can. You know, but, mainly in New York. Yeah, which is where I work most of the time.
But you also work in animated characters with voice. What do you like more about that area?
I was lucky when I first started as an actor. I caught the tail end, the very end of radio drama days. And so I was able to go in and you know, when they'd have people around banks of microphones and sort of doing all this stuff. So I fell in love with it then. It's a skill you need to learn to do voice work. And I was reminded the other day of before then, a fellow who ran an advertising agency said, "Gee, you've got a good voice. Come in, I'm going to use you, big sell." And I went into a studio and I had no idea at all what to do. And I stood there frozen and tried to do a radio announcer voice, and it was dreadful. I had no idea what I was doing. So I went to some friends and said, "What the hell are you doing there?" They told me, "Oh, that's all right." So I learned to do it, and I love the challenge of it. But I'm an actor that loves doing ADR. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's when we go in and revoice stuff. Most actors hate it. I love it. It's just a really interesting challenge. Doing character voice, it's acting still, whatever you're doing. And it's different from others because it comes in bits and pieces, and we did the big game Arc of Night, and I actually voiced that over a period of 2 years, and all you've got to do is remember what character you're playing, and they play back a bit of the voice you were using. So, but it's fascinating stuff. I love it, actually. And it's intense as anything. And you go in there for a 6-hour session, at the end of it, you're wiped. I mean, it's too long, frankly, for the voice. 3 hours is about the max. But we do it.
Excellent. So what are you working on next?
I don't know. I've just finished elementary. I'm just now doing a few. No, I know. No, I have a little bit in a film coming up in July. Yeah, but no, there's nothing yet, except what I'm doing now. It's just a hiatus. I don't know. There's a few things being talked about. I wouldn't mind doing another series. I think I've got one more series left in me before I curl up my toes, as they say.
Are you getting to see much theatre here in the UK? Because Jesse Eisenberg's here at Comic Con.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's obviously got his play on the West.
No, I won't see anything. No, we won't. Well, my wife's never been to Prague, so after here, she can tick that off a bucket list. We'll go there for a couple of days, and then we've got a conference at Hanover, and then a few more travels around the world after that. So that's our plan for the next few days.
You mentioned that you might be interested in playing the Doctor in Doctor Who. What kind of about that would appeal to you?
Well, it's it's funny. It's such a legendary thing. It's nearly as old as I am, which is pretty rare. I don't know. I think it's to step into that genre. It's something you think will never happen in your life. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of this pipe dream somewhere out there. And I threw that out there, not that it's going to happen, but it was just sort of was a fun thing to say. And I think if they did offer me something, I'd say, yeah, why not?
That's interesting, calling back to the question we asked earlier, because the thing about actors going into the Doctor, you basically you're creating that character pretty much from scratch. Yeah. Is there any elements from the character that you would like to just kind of focus on?
No. I mean, obviously you discuss that with the creators.
Sure.
And they'll be developing a story arc,
right,
which they'll want you to fit into. So it's not exactly just me going in there. But then it becomes it's when I find it a very quick process. Once the gears start going so fast and ideas come, and I just let things stew around, and out come the other end comes something, and then you throw that back at the producers, and they evolve. Characters evolve. Walter Bishop in Fringe evolved. Once they saw what I was prepared to do, they started to write more. And as they wrote more, I was able to keep offering them more. So, similarly with the other characters I played, they watch to see what you're doing and what you're capable of doing, and they try not to write outside of your skill level. So that would be what would happen, I suppose. It's not, but still, it's a pipe dream. I'm probably about 4,000 on the list, I suppose, of Doctor Who. Who knows?
But I mean, obviously, genre is so huge now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is a good reflection of that. I mean, do you think it will continue to grow, or? I mean, obviously, it's a hard question. Obviously, I've got a crystal ball.
It's an interesting question. You ask yourself the question: what is it that attracts people to genre? And then you create a whole discussion about the social state, the state of us within this world, yes. And why do we escape? Why do we seek escape? Why do we seek a place where our imaginations can run free, which is what it is. There's a very deep and meaningful question, and it's worth talking about.
Yeah.
And I think it will continue to, if people's lives are as unfulfilled as they seem to be, frankly, in the normal run of things, and so unconnected, as we've lost connection with other things, culture, church and family, and all those things have gone away. So we come here, and a whole new connection is made. Fandom across the world is astonishing. The friends that are made and so forth. And with technology evolving at the rate it is, it's become something different again. And now you've got cosplay and all these things going on. It's quite amazing.
Do you find it sometimes a bit intense, that fandom? I think I've seen you on the panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and you walk out into that room, and it is just a wave.
5,000
you can almost see yourself on stage just getting hit by it.
Yeah. Well, they were pretty amazing when you're working the big auditoriums with 5,000 people. It's not like going to a political rally. The people that we go and see are generally supporters. So there is that positive wave of energy. It's a bit of a love fest usually, which both ways.
Yeah, sure.
So
the intensity doesn't put you off?
Well, it doesn't put me off, but I think other people could be. It doesn't perturb me. I don't.
You're not one for rabbit in the headlights.
No, no, I'm not. And I've done public speaking and I've taught public speaking, so I actually understand how those things work. I'm probably more comfortable talking to a crowd of people like that than I am talking in a personal group, to be honest with you. Seriously. I'm inclined. See, this is comfortable because I know what we're here for. But at a dinner party, I'm inclined to get a bit, I don't know what to say. I get a bit tongue-tied. I want to go home.
That's it.
What? I don't want to go home. You said that's it. It's that time.
Thank you again.
John, thank you.
digitaljamsessions.com